Let's begin now. Hello, everyone. My name is Jose Oseguera, and I'd like to welcome you to 100 Days of Protest. Um, it is an event that I thought about to coincide with President Trump's 100 days of what I call constitutional destruction, because as we all know it, he's not really following the main, the main rules of this country. So I feel that it's a time for all citizens, but especially those whose job it is to use their words, such as writers and poets and artists. It's a time for us to stand up and use our voices for a positive cause. Um, Tonight, you're going to hear from different poets from all over the country, spanning from California, Arizona, Florida, New York. Um, and so, before we begin, I just want to just read through a few notes, just some, some ground rules. Please keep yourself muted unless you're performing. We encourage you to use the chat to ask questions, to show your support. But if you happen to disagree with whatever you hear tonight, please do so respectfully. We're also going to be recording this, and we're going to share it on YouTube in the coming days. Thank you again for being here, and as your MC and host, I am going to be your first reader as well. Like I said, my name is Jose Oseguera, and I am the author of two poetry collections. The first one is called The Milk of Your Blood, and it came out in 2021. And the second one is called And This House is Only a Nest, and that one came out in 2024. The immigrant story doesn't feature Woody or Buzz from Pixar, but a guy named Guillo on a bus from Pacoima to what feels like infinity and beyond Beverly Hills. It isn't told in toys or grand adventures, but in labor, scrubbing kitchens, clipping hedges, patching roofs, quiet acts that never make it to the movie screen. This land is a poem about those stories. Stories lived invisibly behind the American dream. The unfulfilled promises of Woody Guthrie's song, where faith, labor, and love carry entire families across borders, both physical and unseen. It is a pledge to memory and a plea for recognition. This land. The Exodus began with a feeling of strangeness and a question. Am I the stranger, or is this land I call my own a land that belongs to someone else? From the Labyrinth of Solitude by Octavio Paz. It wasn't the children's smiles seeming fake, forced reflections of the girl miming marching gestures in front of them, pricking her dimpled cheeks with her index fingers, contorting her thin lips into a smile no one, regardless of how happy they were, would ever smile. Or that the shades of brown on their faces, benign on chubby-cheeked prepubescent believers of the Constitution, dangerous on adults seeking equality and rights. That forced me to think of their parents crossing the border from countries prosperous in corruption and violence, their empty hope overflowing, ready to embrace whatever fate awaited them on the other side. A contract written in fugitives' weary footprints, scattered on desert dirt, signed in brown blood, working as hard as they could for as long as they could, visiting the doctor only to die, escaping a land barren of opportunity, seeking succor in a state that sucked the soul from their sinews until all that was left was crime. Their speak Spanish voices silenced by another's joy, youth wrung dry on mopped floors, vigor clipped into neatly trimmed hedges, bus rides that only lasted 3 hours there and 3 hours back again, 20 years later, feel unending. Their wages stayed the same but amounted to less. The weight of the roof grew heavier as the kids did, and the señoras still refused to pay a fair wage. And how they were ghosts without corpses, a mass grave that 1,000 years of tears wouldn't fill. They ran towards an invisible line that would never take them home, but lead them to a place so far from it, where they felt like strangers in the homes they built over 20 years and in the ones they left behind over 30 years before. Not worthy of the crumbs into which their children were born, my heart, an embryonic organ, kicked through my ribcage beneath my right hand, pledging allegiance in a child's voice as I looked up at a star-spangled banner that smelled and tasted like the place where I belonged, where my friends and family belonged, where all who believed in what it meant to be American belonged. It was their faith in singing Guthrie's words, the lie that moved their guts to love blindly, even as they knew that what they were given was too good to be true, as if crossing a desert could guide outcasts to the promised land. That rang red in my eyes, white on my beaded face, and blue on thinning lips, no longer able to conceal the lies, the hate, and the love for my motherland. My smile, as visible as they were invisible, lumped together, indivisible, post-puberty injustice for all. And I continued nodding my head to the music so that they'd continue to believe. Thank you. Our next reader is named Liam Lee Balmeo, and they are an award-winning 15-year-old youth poet and activist based in Long Beach, California. They write about their and others' experience blending traditional and contemporary styles of poetry while discussing impactful issues up front and firsthand. Please welcome Liam.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Liam Lee Balmeo, and I will be performing one poem for you today. This poem was originally performed at Mask's second youth showcase, where I performed this poem with other fellow artists. The poem is called Lousy Lips, and it is after my mentor, Miss Nancy Lin Wu, and I hope you enjoy. Lousy Lips. We talk of peace as a compromise, but never seek to resolve, to change what we already have in our palms, falling through our fingers like sand. We see through the lens of hope, each perspective chiseling another layer of judgment, facets of light refracting on this Polaroid to bend our truths. We live in uncertainty, fear of what our futures may bring upon our children, as if we cannot resist, cannot soothe this broken, this crumbling dystopia. And we like to think that our impact, that effect we can create, cannot ripple the effects that we desire in this world. this lifetime, unable to reach the places we need it most. And we ignore the possibilities we envision, falling victim to our preconceived realities we believe to be true. We cannot. We will not live like this any longer. We tend to see through the narrow lens, blocking our vision from seeing the true colors, the true love, the true bodies we call our own, and wait to react upon that danger. We allow others to control the oceans we share, washing the values they believe to be true over our bodies, our thoughts, submerged as grains of sand. We can see the top from the depths, crystal clear ceilings of water blocking our path to the sky, to where we need to be in order to truly belong. I do not speak on behalf of my voice, my vision, but the whole of our collective voices as we unite, we the people, the ones in the caverns of the oceans and ignored by the light we seek, ask to accept and be that change. We are ready to pursue the future. So let these lousy lips of mine speak for the marginalized, the queer voices, the women, the disabled, the earth, and let these lousy lips of mine whisper self-fulfilling prophecies, our destinies intertwining to become realities. Let these lousy lips of mine fight for that hope, glimmering with light. Let us unite as one. Let our hearts beat as one, drums on our dance floor, uniting our strides as we strike. As we take to the streets, let us face the challenges together. Stronger than ever before, let us breathe, let us unite, and let us live as one. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Liam. Thank you for sharing your words. Our next reader is named William Shunn, and he is the author of the memoir The Accidental Terrorists, Confessions of a Reluctant Missionary, and of the horror novella Cast a Cold Eye with Daryl Murphy. His 30 plus short stories have appeared everywhere from Salon to Asimov's science fiction, while his poetry has appeared in Sunstone, Analog, Newtown Literary, and more. His work has been shortlisted for the Hugo Award, the Nebula Award, and the Theodore Sturgeon Memorial Award. The former editor of the Piltdown Review, he lives in New York City. Please welcome William.
Okay. I've been running some things on the technical side, so I'm trying to do everything at the same time. I'm going to do a poem and then a little bit of fiction and another poem. So I'll get right into it. This poem was written several years ago during another crisis, but it still feels relevant to me today. This is called Life on Earth, and it starts with a news quote. A second man pleaded guilty on Thursday to arranging the transport of dozens of immigrants across Texas last year that ended with 10 of them dead or dying in a sweltering tractor trailer in a San Antonio parking lot. Reuters, March 8th, 2018. Hell is other people. A swelter of 200 or more packed like Christmas trees in this black rumbling oven. Could be 1,000 bodies, degrees, take your pick. Jostling molecules, struggling to cohere in this boiling plasma. We cluster like penitents at the bullet holes in the siding, each in turn placing lips to stigmata, mouthing out paeans to the great god oxygen. Not prayers for freedom or new lives, but prayers for mere survival, for life. Meanwhile, the captain's bony hand touches shoulder after shoulder, choosing sides for a team no one wants to join. Team no one. You, there on the outside, watching this truck rock on its springs. Don't you come a-knockin'. Don't you know you're in here too? Don't you realize the phone call is coming from inside the house? Don't you understand? I'm not afraid to die. I'm only afraid of hell. And we already live there. Okay. I'm going to do something maybe a little unusual next. I'm going to read a few pages from my first published short story. From our point of view, we had moved to the left, which I started writing back in 1990 and which was published in 93. But I'm going to read you the end of the story because that's the place where it goes places I hope we as a country won't. So just to get you caught up, most of the story takes place at and leading up to the inauguration day in the year 2009, which was like the distant future to me way back then. The narrator, Benny, is a young man at a New Hampshire boys' academy whose school choir has been summoned to Washington to perform God Bless America at the inauguration of a far-right populist who won the election in a surprise upset. Benny and his friends are just beginning to develop their political consciousnesses, and they're not terribly excited to be there, and neither is their choir director, Mr. Kemmelman. So the oath of office ends, and the choir's big moment comes, but the boys screw up their starting cue, and in the silence that follows, one of the young sopranos, a kid they call Slapjack, starts to laugh, almost hysterically. And then the rest of the choir joins in. So that's where we'll pick it up. Our laughter multiplied and echoed back from the floating loudspeakers, from the mausoleum white marble of the Capitol, from the monuments all down the mall, as if a horde of demons were descending on the city. Mr. Kemmelman stood frozen, arms still raised, with the faintly surprised air of a man just impaled on a spear. His eyes betrayed only disbelief. Then the laughter spread to the crowd. I will not attempt to describe any more of it here. Every news outlet in the country has it on tape in three-dimensional surround. The only way to know how it really felt is to have been there in person. But the tapes come close. I know, I've reviewed them often enough. Chaos reigned for a minute or two, but after a few stern words from the Chief Justice, order was restored. We were even given a chance to try our number again, and we did a respectable job of it. It didn't make us feel any better, though. We had already upstaged ourselves, and no performance, no matter how good, could make up for that. But we had also upstaged the President of the United States. After that first horrible instant, he had managed to mask his true emotions, but we weren't fooled. He smiled graciously as we pushed through our number, but from that smile shone malice as pure as beams of black light. We had laughed at his inauguration, and from his point of view, I'm sure he felt we were laughing at him. But time marches on as inexorably as the parade, which soon installed Jack Wheelock in his new home at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. 12 years have passed, and he's been laughing at the rest of us ever since. My parents eke out a meager subsistence back home in Maine, two old reporters whose suddenly liberal press was forced into closure nearly a decade ago. Charlie's father, once a critic of military rearmament, has not been heard from in 7 years. Huey's mother is dead, killed in religious violence in the streets of New York City. His family had never been practicing Jews, but strangely enough, now they are, covertly. And Mr. Kemmelman has never been seen again. I'm back in Washington today, Wednesday, January 20th, 2021. The occasion is Jack Wheelock's 4th inauguration. I attend Dartmouth, and I have begun my student teaching at the Nathaniel Hawthorne Memorial Boys Academy. By a peculiar twist of fate, I have drawn the same duty forced upon Mr. Kemmelman some 12 long years ago. My boys are here with me, crowded onto ill-sized risers adjoining the presidential grandstand. The day is again cold and clear. President Wheelock has waited all this time for our choir to reattain its former level of excellence, and he is determined that we serve him today with fierce allegiance, as if that will undo the affront of so long ago. Charlie and Huey are here somewhere also, perhaps as part of the crowd, perhaps atop one of the nearby buildings, or perhaps in some cunning disguise inside the security cordon. I prefer not to know where. For their part, they are determined that Jack Wheelock not be allowed to serve a 4th term. For my part, I am determined only to draw from my boys the most haunting and plaintive music that has ever been heard in this city, which was once the cradle of democracy. I am determined to give Mr. Kemmelman, wherever he is, the performance we failed to deliver that Tuesday in '09. Everyone will be waiting for another colossal blunder. They will be waiting for us to disgrace ourselves again, to humiliate our president, but we will not. We will sing like angels, and we will seize the minds and souls of all within the sound of our voices. They will hear, see, and feel nothing else but our music. And when the shots ring out to signal the end of an era, we will not miss a beat, and the strains of Horace Kemmelman's magnificent arrangement of God Bless America will wash out over the mall like a cool breeze from heaven. It may be the last song I ever hear, but my boys will make me proud, and I will be happy. There is something my parents never understood about America. It is that America only understands itself. It knows little of anything else, and what it does know, it comprehends poorly. My parents named me Benedict, from the Latin for good word, or good saying, or even good voice, for they hoped I might someday write or speak with a powerful voice in defense of all that is good about this nation. But they made a mistake. In this country, even among those who know nothing else of American history, the name Benedict is associated with one thing only: treason. And perhaps a traitor is what I am. Perhaps that's what we all are. Who of you can blame us, though, for a certain amount of confusion that dark day 12 years ago? With the crowd, the cameras, the very weight of history hanging over our heads like some giant Damoclean sword, who can blame us for one small and treacherous mistake? All it boiled down to was a breakdown of communication. Charlie and I and many of the others were used to sitting in the center section of the choir. When Mr. Kemmelman asked that the section to his right begin the canon, he was forgetting that many of us had shifted positions, and that from our point of view, we had moved to the left. Right. Again, that was 1993. And now one quick last poem. This is brand new. This is called The Details. The devil is in the details. The fox is in the henhouse. The goats are in the garden. The wolf is at the door. The eagle has landed. The ox is in the mire. The barbarians are at the gates. The dog turns to its own vomit. The wolf is in sheep's clothing. The chickens have come home to roost. But the horse is in the hayloft, and Elvis has left the building. The bull is in the china shop. The bear is in the beehive. The deer is in the headlights. The canary is in the coal mine. The snake is in the grass. The cat is in the cradle. The baby is in the bathwater. The bathwater is out the window. The ants are in the sugar. The dish ran away with the spoon. The cat has swallowed the canary. The walls have ears, the better to hear. The proof is in the pudding. The pudding is cracked and shriveled. The check is in the mail, but the bank has gone to ground. The devil is in your details. The wolf is in the changing room. His peanut butter is in your chocolate. And the rabbit, it done died. The fox is in the counting house. The bear is by the bike path. The wolf is at the oxen, and the gates are in the mire. The barn is burning to kill the mice. The frying pan is in the fire. The village is burning to save a buck. The smoke gets in your eyes. The poison is in the well. The blood is in the water. The sharks are on the prowl. The fingers are in every pie. The devil is in the details. The devil is in the hen house. The devil is in the garden. The devil is at the door. The devil does not wear Prada. The devil's dressed in blue. The mourners are all in black. The devil's tongue is crimson. Joshua judges Ruth. Leviticus numbers Deuteronomy. Bleach is the best disinfectant. Stick in your thumb, pull out a plum. The moon is down. The eagle has crashed. One if by land, two if by ice. Take the gun, leave the cannoli. Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown. The stars are falling from the sky. The dog turns to its own comet. Democracy is in retrograde. Liberty has left the building. The money changers are in the temple, but the rebels are in position. We're fashioning plowshares into flails. We drive them out on 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill, for sharing your words. Our next reader is Megan Merchant. She, her is the owner of www.shiversong.com and holds an MFA degree from UNLV. She is a visual artist and most recently the author of A Slow Indwelling from Harbor Publications as well as Hortensia in Winter, winner of the New American Poetry Prize. She is the editor of Pyrene's Fountain. Please welcome Megan.
Thank you. Again, Jose, thank you so much for all of your dedication and hard work. And thank you, everybody, for sharing your talent and your words this evening. I'll read a few small poems. All my poems are pretty short, so we're good. Patriotism, November 6, 2024. My children wake, afraid, while down the street fireworks sound off like rounds of ammunition. I read that a few 4th of Julys ago, a neighbor shot his firearm into the air and the bullet lodged into his daughter's brain. What goes up? I have a million tried expressions to ward away fear when what we need is a direct address. I don't understand, my youngest panics, because we have given hate a talisman. I start to sell off our belongings as exit strategy and take residence in the temporary lodging of "It's always darkest before the dawn" and "Be calm and carry on." Those words must exist for a reason. A coffee mug strategy to life. Stop, drop, and roll. Hotline numbers are shared across my screen. I'm here. Hello. I burn the edges of paintings that confine each shape, hold the charred pieces in my hands. I hear my mother say, "Build it in a place they can never reach." I border my children's speech into the confines of our home. Say what you want in your mind, I teach them, lying, knowing even that's not safe. A bullet can still find you there and look a lot like a celebration. This next poem is from one of my 2 latest collections, A Slow Indwelling, with Small Harbor Publishing. What do we do when the black hole comes? My son asks before the hours lighten. I know so much of this life is unreal, but yesterday I cut my lip and flooded my mouth with blood. I read about parents who chew food, then mama bird it into their babies' mouths so they won't choke. Haven't I been doing this with the world? I've cellophaned windows and boarded the doors to keep them safe, clammed the news with Vivaldi, given his finger guns shadows until they grew into beaks on the blank wall. And still, a war rages, our entanglement of invisible threads. News makes it across about a mother who shielded her infant with her back while the shells burst, and another who braved her way into the frontline rubble of her house to play a piano one last time, the notes ricocheting across glass and splintered wood. If I say I am most afraid of people, don't I also mean ourselves? Instead, I say unimaginable because there is distance. I tell my son the nearest black hole is 3,000 light years away, while here it is spring outside. The trees blast pollen. The yellow shrapnel coats everything. I sneeze so loud the birds shit scatter. Without a second thought, we pile heavy books to kill spiders that lumber between sheets, not even looking to see if their abdomens are swollen with eggs. The next two, thank you. The next 2 poems are from my collection Before the Fevered Snow with Stillhouse Press. And this came out in March of 2020. So y'all know what that means. Blew it. Reading my grandfather's letters home, 1945, I learned that he saw Madame Butterfly in Paris after the war, that there was enough of him left to feel the rain and realize the lapse since he'd last laughed. The same day, I read online about a new color of blue going into a box of crayons, as if there's a lapse in the tints of sad available so that our children might draw the world. Brighter than cobalt, robin's egg, cerulean and sky, beautiful. I think of the blue morpho butterfly, its scopic wingspan, flinch bright, its underside camouflaged drab, but still nearing extinct. O America the beautiful, why not name the color thoughts and prayers? A blue not allowed to rest, bright as in blood before it stains. The cold rain on my grandfather's face. I used to wonder why the average German man did nothing to stop such unspeakable horrors. I know now what little can be done. So I will buy this new color for my son and tell him all is not lost. See, we have given you a way to fluent tragedy. In your hands, it might morph into something beautiful, but mostly blue. Tsunami drills in the high desert. My child, Loud's disruptive, gets removed from the public library every reading hour. Once a month, hides in a storage closet, active shooter drills. His teacher with 10 special needs kids. My son cannot quiet. Cranks at the vacuum and lights too bright, too crowded, he tells me, how their bodies have to stack like Jenga for the tsunami. I cry at the kitchen table when he calls it the best part of his day. We share for keeps, and in the time it took the noodles to boil, another illogical prayer was reloaded to keep our guns safe, keep our anger healthy enough. It burns anger to ash while we dare to sleep. The next day, my son asks to get dressed for school in his orange life vest, tells me, you cannot hear the water coming. You're safe until the wave pulls back, until the wave reloads. And I'll share two more quick ones here. Funeral details. There will be a hound baying in the distance, and the flowers that have just passed their bloom day will slosh in their glass mouths, drunk. And the sermon will grow loud at times, generic as a hot dish brought to grief's door, and the collective breath will flinch at victim too soon, amen, which means all men. And someone will say that the new child's pose is supine in a casket, and someone else will try to make it better by saying there's a quick flash of light before a gun goes off, and maybe that's what we're all mistaking for heaven. And I'm going to end with a love poem because there's nothing more revolutionary in this world and right now in this time than love. It's a mirror poem, so it goes first line, last line, and then circles back last line to first line on itself. I paint my toes in dark. It is raining in this broken world. Finches do not glide away from the glass, the cello bow on strings. Soft edges of language have been peeled from telephone poles, while vanished steals into the grief of names. I prepare mulberry paper, beating the bark into pulp, knowing the ink will run right through. The stain, a grasping between us. Despite it all, please send me the scrap of rain song against your roof, what holds you inside. My pulse is a beak smashing into glass. My pulse is a beak smashing into glass. Send me the scrap of rain song against your roof, what holds you inside, please, despite it all. Between us, a grasping, the stain, knowing the ink will run right through. Beating the bark into pulp, I prepare mulberry paper, while vanished steals into the grief of names. Soft edges of language have been peeled from telephone poles. The cello bow on strings. Flinches, finches do not glide away from the glass. It is raining in this broken world. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan, for your words. Our next reader is named Jimmy Vega, and he is the author of the upcoming Zirconium Ash from What Books Press, coming out in 2025, and the associate director of Beyond Baroque Literary Arts Center. He lives and works in Los Angeles. Please welcome Jimmy.
Hey everyone, thank you, Jose, and thank you to all the writers sharing your work. It's been really great to hear and to be inspired and be fired up. I'm gonna share 3 poems. I hope you all can hear me okay. Um, yeah, okay, let's get into it. Oh, brave new world.
Oh, brave new world. Oh, brave new world. Oh, brave new world. Oh, brave new world. Oh, brave new world. Oh, brave new world. Oh, brave new world. Oh, brave new world. Oh, brave new world. Oh, brave new world. Oh, brave new world. Oh, brave new world.
Low theory sonnet. There's blood on the keys, dirt precipitation in my left iris, a chilling renunciation. Low theory headache, wishing I was bed rotting with you too, with the sunrise of my camouflage mirror staring back at me, grinning. I stab my eyes to meet phosophenes, not just today, but yesterday too. I tell you that when I feel the flow of energy, which is not visible, like the whisper of a kiss or Monday morning stillness, there is always perhaps more humanity within the outside of a cage. One day, I realized I was a cell in an Excel sheet. The taste of digital steel still lingers. Song of Bleeding Throats. Los Angeles is on fire. Scorched streets toned in technicolor and rancid cempasúchil ash. Someone lights a cop car in flames. Tear gas kisses my cornea, tickles my throat like razor wire, rattling my lungs, and someone baptizes me in cool milk. My face drips. Someone punches a cop, and I make a wish. Hands outstretched, open palms, searching for God or loose cigarettes. I can't breathe on Fairfax and Third. I can't breathe with a fist down my throat. I can't breathe with my face kissing pavement. I can't breathe in sleeper holds. I can't breathe in tobacco-stained roads. I can't breathe with the baton licking my spine. I can't breathe with pepper spray coloring my iris. I can't breathe when we're choking on words like pig. I can't breathe when rubber bullets hemorrhage my prefrontal lobe. I can't breathe when I'm too busy coughing up a lung. I can't breathe when my face is buried in tierra. I can't breathe cuando me amarran la lengua. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Carbon monoxide tints the air green and someone holds an ACAB sign. I can smell burnt fingertips reaching towards lit canisters. I can't breathe, and it ain't the fucking face mask. Someone says the dumpsters in Santa Monica are a lot nicer than the ones in Venice. The 405 southbound, slack and slightly overcast. Greenway, freeway signs scribbled in post semantics. I keep driving 95 on the 405 before I reach inside my epidural hematoma just to taste the fever of my city persimmon in afterglow. I can't breathe in Los Angeles, my breath arrested, my voice cyanotic. Poem about my uncle. Someone walks into the neighborhood liquor, mentioning the total collapse of civilization. Saddened, recalling my notes on humanism, I reach for my dusky scratch wrinkle of a gag. I thought I'd seen my uncle one day on my way to work down Venice Boulevard, crowning a dark baseball cap. Sometimes I try holding my grief in the palm of my hands, and sometimes I lose my focus because even sustenance can't terrain. In that reverberating glimmer, it was almost as if my uncle was casually providing his salutations to the not yet dead through non-verbal clairvoyance, where a blue jay sparkles its tongue to show you light, where my father caressed my uncle's feet as he was dying. There are moments we call collapse between lines we say before a mirror, either static near black reflective or other dark brown mustard turf. I wonder when exactly I had realized I was too late for lucid goodbyes, hood, asphalt, quiet sound. I never see my cousins save to bear their suffer. Tonight, I cannot locate the little Zen pocketbook of folk tales and allegories my Aristotelian teacher would read, like the koan about a strawberry by the cliffside. If you listen closely, the humming rarely stutters, an acknowledgement of presence. Like the last time I saw my uncle, he was already memory I could not cling to, ghetto bird, quiet display of suffering. How lonesome death, even with the nurse by your side. I tried telling you I can't be my own witness to the cosmic slow dance, even if the constant surveillance does induce ocular headaches, in such a way that our privacy is no longer private nor free, in such a way that I ache before afternoon cat naps, in such a way that empire leaves me gasping, living near or living parallel or sleeping next to freeways is socio-political redlining. Don't kid yourself. We're well past savoir-faire by this line. In that haze of momentary flicker, my uncle, with his gaze concentrating on asphalt, was my very own pareidolia, a stranger under the guise of my father's brother, one he lost to microscopic or otherwise tumors nesting in his brain, smiling. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy, for your words. Our next reader is named Dorsey Craft, and she is the author of A Brief History of Accidental Inventions from Texas Review Press, 2026, and Plunder from Bohan Publishing, 2020. Her poems have appeared recently in Copper Nickel, Plowshares, Sixth Finch, Quarterly West, and elsewhere. She teaches at the University of North Florida and serves as assistant poetry editor at Agni. Please welcome Dorsey.
Thank you so much, Jose. Thank you so much for organizing this important reading and for making space for poetry in these harrowing times. And thank you to my fellow readers for their beautiful poems and to everyone who came to listen and be with us tonight. I'm just going to read one long poem. It's called Essay Against Metaphor. I wrote it at the Anderson Center in Red Wing, Minnesota, in response to the repeal of Roe v. Wade in 2022. And also in the wake of my son's birth via emergency C-section in 2021. I actually, if it's not too tacky, I have a link to the poem from Blackbird. So if anybody wants to like follow it, because it's long and annoying. This is Essay Against Metaphor. Essay Against Metaphor. My baby has become a gun, his mahogany stock snug against my shoulder. He is thin, hard, gleaming. He opens his mouth and reports, and automatically the milk lets down. At the artist's residency, I see the printmaker gather grass to create texture on copper and the sculptor fill a bucket with dandelions to make wine. I go out and plant my head against a birch tree. I sit in my room naked and write. White crabapple trees blossom in the poems, and I think about metaphors. Metaphor from the Greek, to carry. Metaphor like when Plath said she boarded a train, there was no getting off. A conceit is a metaphor that has been strained, left logic behind, shows the ropes that hold up the poem. Like when John Donne says that the flea is like his mistress's virginity, that blood in the flea's body is like a marriage, that killing the flea is like killing him. Reader. You probably don't have to worry about your baby becoming a gun. In order for this to happen, you must first be writing a book about guns and then in the middle have a baby. Yes, 1 minute everything is guns, rotating chambers, filigree handles, smoke dissipating around your father's face, and the next moment someone sticks their fingers through your abdominal muscles and pulls out your baby, and absolutely everything is babies, hailstorms of babies splashing into puddles of babies, their fingers and toes, their tiny penises and vulvas, their sweet swollen tummies. They are all over, so you must put them into your poems. And if you are already writing the book about guns, have been writing it for years, the babies must be introduced immediately to the book about guns. You must yoke them together by force. I am reading about the gun in our cultural consciousness. I am reading about how the gun is our id. I am reading about how carrying a gun is making yourself a deputy of the sovereign state. I am reading about how metaphors get born. I am reading about how a deer can become a metaphor, about how a gun can become a deer, about how anything can turn into anything, and that is why metaphors cannot be kicked out, and deer are often infected with fleas, and babies are not like guns, but mine is. In the above section, I first wrote you and had to go back and replace it with I. Freud says that for a mother, the baby is the phallus, the metaphorical penis that brings her closer to being a man. My friend texts me, "You cannot fuck with Freud." I try to sit silent under the tree, but I need to text my dad. I think you would like it here, and I need to make a little video for Instagram, and I need to make everything real for myself and my 60 followers. And when I use the breast pump 5 times a day, I need to watch a video of my real baby crying to get the real milk to fall into my breasts and out into the plastic bag I hope to FedEx back home for my baby to drink. The pump is not a gun, but it reminds me of one because it is a machine that makes me want to kill something. Anne Carson writes about her dreams and calls them nudes. My favorite is the one with the room of opalescent white with neither planes nor angles that is almost wet. I have always thought of it as a metaphor for the womb. When I applied to this residency, I was not yet pregnant, my womb not yet filled with metaphors. Marianne Moore says poems are imagined gardens with real toads in them. There is a snapping turtle in the concrete pool here. They cannot release her into the wild. She will not eat worms, only manufactured turtle food, hand-fed. I think poems are much easier than people make them sometimes. I recently leaked this opinion. I said, what's the big deal? I sit down in the morning, I write 15 or 20 lines, I change some words, relineate. I think I am here by accident. I think poetry is a scam. I think I am an imagined woman with a real baby outside me. In the leaked draft of the Supreme Court decision reversing Roe v. Wade, Samuel Alito writes 98 pages. I try to read them to find out whether he uses metaphors, but instead I watch videos of women contouring their cheeks, my scalp tingling for a touch that will not come. Now that my baby is a gun, he can be held against a woman's temple. His lips are still pink, his eyes still blue. I haven't spoken to my father about abortion in a while. I suspect that he suspects that my gun/baby changed my mind, and this amuses me because when I was pregnant, I gained 60 pounds and my skin bubbled like lava and my ribs got bent outward, and I was in the hospital for 4 days crying. I cried for so long because my baby could not breathe and his brain bled, and he was cooled for several days, and before I had a chance to hold him, he had become a gun. The benefits of this procedure are unclear. I think poems are real wombs with imagined miracles in them. Alito says that any rights protected must be deeply rooted in our nation's history and traditions. Deeply rooted is an implied metaphor that compares our rights to a tree. Metaphors that have metaphored for too long, these we call cliches. These we call trees whose roots have dried. You get pregnant, you have a baby, or you don't. You pull the trigger, a dove falls out of the sky, or it doesn't. You pump milk, the little drops fall down into the plastic container, or your baby starves. You turn up the vacuum, you watch videos, you cry. See there, the I has become the you. I am pumping milk and reading the leaked opinion. It quotes Mississippi's law prohibiting abortion after 15 weeks. It quotes a part that tells me when an unborn human can do different things. 6 weeks it has a heart, 8 weeks it kicks, 10 weeks it has little toenails. I would be lying if I said this did not cause me to imagine my son's toenails. That's where they get you. That's synecdoche, another kind of metaphor I'm deciding to be against. It didn't have to be this way. I could have kept on being a poet with my real or fake frogs or turtles or trees, but like with our guns, we are not responsible with our metaphors. We squash real toads with our imaginary black boots. We cradle imaginary guns and throw real babies into our truck beds overnight and forget to rub them down with oil. I believe that the speaker's mistress in Dunn's The Flea, who purples her nail in the blood of innocence, knows where she can find a midwife with strong hands, has hidden under her bed a pearl-encrusted dagger, is planning very soon to go to sea. The main reason I am sad that my baby has become a gun is because of how small he looked in the glass bassinet. How, as I tried to pull him off my nipple, he kept right on mouthing, tenacious, a dandelion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorsey, for your words. Our next and final poet of the night is named Brent Ameneyro. He is the author of the collection A Face Out of Clay from the Center for Literary Publishing 2024 and the chapbook Puebla from Ghost City Press 2023. His poetry has appeared in Alaska Quarterly Review, the Iowa Review, Ninth Letter, The Journal, Hayden's Ferry Review, Salamander, and elsewhere. He was the 2022-2023 Letras Latinas Poetry Coalition Fellow at the University of Notre Dame. He currently serves as an associate at Letras Latinas and as a poetry editor for the Los Angeles Review. Please welcome Brent.
Thank you so much, Jose. Thank you for having me and for organizing this event. It's an honor to be able to read after all of those incredible pieces that you all shared. So thank you all for contributing to this chorus, and thank you for everyone in attendance for spending your evening with us. I'm going to read one poem from my book, A Face Out of Clay. I think the only thing you need to know for this poem is the translation of the word cañonazo, which I guess would be like the simplest way to say it is like kicking the soccer ball really hard, across the field. Like you're doing a cañonazo like across the field. Yeah, it's not a soft kick. Okay. I'm going to read the epigraph first, then I'll read the title and go into the poem. The number of unaccompanied migrant children detained along the southern border has tripled in the last 2 weeks to more than 3,250. The New York Times, March 8th, 2021. Rules of the game. The boundaries of the field were marked with sweaters and lunchboxes. When we played, there were no referees. Nobody told us whose team to be on. When the ball crossed the invisible line, everyone just yelled. Before a cañonazo, to alert teammates, to trick the opponent, or sometimes, as a courtesy, we'd point to the sky. Now, I'd like to read a piece that I wrote just for this event. So I'm going to read that now. And for this piece, I pulled data and some language from multiple articles. I verified all of the sources, many of which were official documents released by the Pentagon. And then I also include Bible verses, Matthew 5:9, Jeremiah 29:11, and Isaiah 55:12. Prose poem for 100 Days of Protest virtual event on Tuesday, April 29th, 2025. Between 2003 and 2023, U.S. and allied air forces dropped more than 337,000 bombs and missiles on other countries. That's an average of 46 strikes per day for 20 years. This does not include helicopter strikes, Lockheed Boeing AC-130 gunships, strafing runs with 20mm and 30mm cannons or rockets, counterinsurgency and counterterrorism operations in West Africa, Philippines, Latin America, and other countries. Many scholars start the conversation on prose poems with the Bible. Sometimes I pray, even though I'm not religious. The phrase "under God" was incorporated into the Pledge of Allegiance in 1954, changing the original 1892 version. If the government can invoke God, so can a poet. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. I think it's fair to say this virtual space is filled mostly with people who are disappointed and upset with the current administration. If you have only started feeling this way now, dear listener, let me put you on game. In 2016, the U.S. dropped at least 26,171 bombs authorized by President Barack Obama. That's 72 bombs per day for a year, 3 bombs per hour. From October 2023 to June 2024, the Biden administration transferred at least 14,000 Mk-84 2,000-pound bombs, 6,500 500-pound bombs, 3,000 Hellfire precision guided air-to-ground missiles, 1,000 bunker buster bombs, 2,600 air-dropped small diameter bombs, and other munitions to Israel to use on Gaza. ICE deported more than 271,000 people in fiscal year 2024 under the Biden administration, the highest tally recorded by the agency since fiscal year 2014, when the Obama administration carried out 316,000 deportations. In fiscal year 2019, ICE reported 267,000 deportations, the peak under the previous Trump administration. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Does this not sound like a prose poem? I'll add flowers. A flower in the barrel of a rifle. Flowers for graves. 13,000 flowers for the children killed in Gaza. 13,000 children murdered by Israel with support from the United States. The United States has not declared war since 1941. How is that possible? There were several tactics implemented during the second half of the 20th century, but since 2001, authorization for the use of military force, or AUMF, has been used. Under Article 1 of the Constitution, Congress is granted the power to declare war. AUMF, however, authorized force broadly against the perpetrators of the 9/11 attacks and those who aided or harbored them. Congress has not revisited this authority, despite a lack of clearly defined limitations and restricted transparency. This has allowed multiple administrations to interpret the 2001 AUMF in a manner that effectively cedes to the president the congressional role of authorizing military action. Translation: military action bypasses Congress and is authorized directly by the president. The trick has been to identify rogue groups as terrorists, bypassing official declarations of war. Terrorist, noun, first known use of the word 1794. A person who uses unlawful violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims. Examples of terrorists in the last 20 years: George Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Joe Biden. There's a poem engraved on the Statue of Liberty, The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The U.S. government knows the power of poetry. For them, poetry is another tool in the propaganda tool belt. For the people, for us, for me, poetry is hope. For you shall go out in joy and be led forth in peace. The mountains and the hills before you shall break forth into singing, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent, for your words. And as we close the gathering tonight, actually, I want to thank every single one of you, the listeners, the readers, and in particular Bill for helping me with the he's been helping me with the hosting duties. So thank you so much. Um, but I want to thank you all for standing in protest, not just with your bodies, but with your voices, with your memories, and with your hopes. 100 Days of Protest is about building momentum, not just marking the date. Um, so let tonight be a beginning of something. Let it remind you of something. The future holds so much for us, but it belongs to those who refuse to stay silent. We know that the people in power never want to stay silent, right? They're flooding the zone, as they call it, right? Um, and it could be a heavy burden on us the people. Um, but words are powerful. Our words are powerful, not just poets' words, but the people's words. And when you speak words in hate, they can divide us and destroy us. But when we speak truth, we emerge from the rubble and we can rebuild our democracy, our world, and ourselves. So please never stay silent. Thank you again for being here, and I wish you a good night. Thank you all.